Hello, everybody, and welcome to your weekly Wednesday webinar from Squibbler. I'm Moxie, and I'm going to talk to you today about some book formatting tips and tricks. So in this webinar, you're going to learn some typography fundamentals, in other words, which fonts you should use, some page layout tips, and some formatting errors to avoid. So we're going to jump right in. So formatting really does matter with your books, especially if you're self-publishing. You want to have some understanding of what you should be doing. And there's a big difference between a book that looks amateurish and one that commands respect, and that even comes down to the formatting. Readers will judge a book within seconds of opening it. So poor formatting can kill your sales, while professional formatting is going to build trust and credibility. Some important things about fonts, that there are some professional typography rules. Generally for fiction, you're going to have 10 to 12 point font. For nonfiction, 10 to 11. And line spacing should be 1.15 to 1.3 for print and 1.4 to 1.6 for ebooks. You don't ever want to use specialty fonts like Comic Sans, Papyrus, or decorative fonts for body text. And we'll get more into what's fonts you should use specific to your genre as we go through this session. It is a smart idea to do a little bit of research about the fonts that are currently being used in popular books in the same genre you're writing. This gives you an opportunity to go browse your local bookstore or library. And what you want to do, for example, is if you're writing fantasy, go to the fantasy section, look at some of the top-selling fantasy books, and look at the fonts that are there. A pro tip, one thing you can do if you're not familiar with fonts, is to take a photo with your phone of some fonts that are in these popular books and use What the Font or Adobe Capture so you can recognize what those fonts are. So we do have a chart for you with some popular fonts in specific genres. And of course, you can pause the video at this point to take a look. I'm not going to go through all of these, but we do divide up what is typical for literary fiction, for romance and historical fiction, for mystery, thriller, suspense, for academic, educational, and nonfiction books, and science fiction and fantasy. So you can take a look at this chart if you'd like to, and it will be uploaded with our webinar on Discord as well. So here's the difference between what is a professional looking font versus a non-professional and the spacing in between. With the professional one, you've got Times New Roman 11 point and 1.4 spacing. This looks exactly like how books are published when you get them off of bookshelves. The amateurish one on the right side here is Arial. It's 14-point font. It's large and it's double spaced. So it looks like a high school paper. It doesn't really look like how books should be published. So we're going to jump into professional page anatomy next, and you might want to grab a cup of coffee for the next part of our discussion. It is a bit detailed. You're not expected to memorize all of this. We do have a cheat sheet for you that we'll upload on our Discord server. But these details do matter, and it's going to help make sure that your books and your formatting looks professional and inviting to your readers. So we do have this in the packet that we'll upload with this webinar on Discord. It's the parts of a book, and if you're not familiar with them, I think most people are familiar with the front cover. This is your spine, and then of course your back cover. Notice that all three of these parts do have a writing on them. You should plan for having them designed and engaging for your reader. The inside parts of the book, and this is where a lot of your formatting is going to matter. You typically have a margin up at the top, and then on the sides, you have your right and left margins, and of course, a margin at the bottom. And then you have to account for this centerpiece, which is the gutter, where you have a larger section here. So you want to make sure these are correctly formatted so you're not cutting any parts of your text off. And of course, this front part of your book is called the foredge. So the standard dimensions, and Amazon does use these if you're planning to publish there, or Barnes & Noble. Trade paperbacks are typically 6 inches by 9 inches, and these are the most popular. Amazon already has this set up for you. Your mass market smaller books that you buy at the airport are 4.25 inches by 6.87. So they're a little bit shorter, so you can throw them in your briefcase or your purse. Hardcovers typically tend to be a little larger, 6 by 9 or 6.14 by 9.21. And then there are also large print books if you're planning to publish in large print for your visually impaired readers. And those are 7 inches by 10 inches. Your margins, of course, are going to differ. It should not be the same all the way around. The inside gutter is going to be larger, of course, because you have to account for that center space that has spacing on both sides there. Your outside margins are, 0.625 to 0.75. Your top and bottom margins generally are similar in your project as well. The reason this matters, the correct margin size is going to create a comfortable reading experience for your reader. It offers some white space so the text doesn't become too busy or cluttered for the eye. And it also allows for the proper binding of the book as well. So amateur margins, things that you want to avoid is that you don't have the same margin size on all sizes. It differs. You don't want to have, for example, 1-inch margin on all sides. You don't want to have things that are too narrow or too wide. And so it looks like you're writing a poem. It's unprofessional, and this creates binding issues as well. So when this webinar is uploaded to our Discord server, we are going to have a handy formatting cheat sheet packet to help you. And I'll show you kind of what is going to be on there. We do have a diagram of what a typical 6.9 looks like for you and the trim sizes that you should have on all of these the margins for your project. We also have a cover sheet and diagram for you as well. And the full layout of your cover, your spine, and your back cover. So you can plan out your sizing and what you want it to look like. When you're talking about the interior of your book, there are some other things that are important to remember. And one of those is your chapter title. You want to make sure it's centered, and then it's got elegant styling and generous spacing on the covers of your chapters. You don't want to just, push it all the way up to the top. You can include things like a drop cap. Sometimes you'll see this in fancier books where the first letter has a larger font than the remaining text. In some modern books, the first paragraph does not indent. Look to see what is popular now in books that are printed now in your genre. This is an older book, so it does have an indentation in its first paragraph, but a lot of newer books are not including that. Make sure you have generous white space around your opening chapter as well. And I should have left this open, but you'll notice there's a lot of white space in this opening chapter. And then you want to aim for consistency. Whatever this looks like on your first page and on your succeeding pages, it has to look like that throughout the rest of your book. So here's an example of a professional interior page 1 versus an amateurish one. Notice that on the professional one, the title is centered. There's a nice little graphic underneath this. And then you have a larger capital T here at the first letter of the word with the drop cap. And then the remaining font is all the same size. Compare that to this amateurish looking version. You don't have much white space around your chapter title. It's not centered. And there's, this indentation may be an issue if you're writing a newer book and they don't use these fonts. Another thing to keep in mind, if you're planning to print digitally, there's a very different type of setup you should do for your manuscripts. You want to create separate files for your print and digital books. You don't want to try to push them together and cheat, because what's going to happen is you're going to compromise quality trying to make one file work for both formats. They're two different beasts, and they should have their own documents that you're planning to upload. So here are some print formatting plans for print, and then you have the ebook formatting on the right side. Print formatting is quite different. You're going to have 10 to 12 point font size, but the font in ebook is reader controlled. They can change the sizing. The spacing for for print is 1.15 to 1.3. It's a little bit shorter space between lines than you will have in a digital version, where you have 1.4 to 1.6 line height. For pages, often your chapters will start on the right. For pages in digital, of course, you're scrolling through, so you have page breaks for digital. So you do need to include those for your digital publications. Headers in your books are book or chapter titles, but they're not necessary in digital. Numbers, when you number your pages in print, are bottom or outer corners. And for digital, it's going to be an automated location. And the alignment, of course, is full justification for books. Both sides are equal. And for digital, it's left aligned is often better. So some tips for getting your book ready for ebook publication is to remove your headers and footers, especially if you have page numbers there. Use simple page breaks between your chapters only. Increase your line spacing. This is going to make it much easier for your reader to read on their device. And switch to left alignment. You want to make sure before you publish that you test how this is going to look on multiple devices. Check it out on your Kindle if you have one, your iPad, and on your phone as well. So a couple of things to avoid in self-publishing, some red flags that can get your book, looking unprofessional. One is double spacing. So don't use 2.0 like you have in school papers. That just is not the way that books are published. It's better for print to use 1.15 to 1.3. You want to make sure that you do not include uniform margins. So you don't put 1-inch margins on all sides. It is asymmetrical. Your margins on your top and bottom may be similar, but the gutter in the center, again, that's the center part, is the gutter. It's going to need more white space here naturally, because so you won't eliminate some of your text here in your book. Another thing is inconsistent indentation. You want to make sure that you're not mixing tabs, spaces, different sizes. However you choose to begin your chapters, you should continue to do that throughout your book. If you do a first line indent, 0.25 is usually the most common. Make sure that you don't use inconsistent formatting or left page starts. Usually modern books are printed with right page starts. So you'll see even part of the text on, like, even if it's 2 to 3 lines on a left page. So fixing these 4 mistakes alone in just 30 minutes or so are going to make your book look more professional almost immediately. Those are some things to watch for. There are some professional tools that you can look for if you're going to continue to publish books. Adobe InDesign is the industry standard. It's used by publishers, and it's $20 a month. You could look at a one-time purchase with something like Affinity. That's $70. Vellum for Mac can create beautiful ebook formatting for you. It's a little bit more expensive. This might be something that you want to do if you're going to create quite a few books. And then Atticus is an all-in-one sort of solution. It's mid-range there. If you're on a budget or you're just starting out and you're not sure you need these tools, you might experiment with Microsoft Word with the proper templates. You can start to lay out books that way. You could experiment with the margins. And the same with Google Docs. Google Docs is free. Pages for Mac is really good to use as well if you have a Mac. The nice thing about Mac is if you download a PDF from Scribbler and then you open it in Pages, the layout looks like a book, which is really nice. You get an idea of how your book will look when it's published. And of course, there's Canva, and you can also use that for simple layout templates. But if you do not have a Pro subscription, it can be limited into what you're able to do. So again, if you're new, I would think about, I wouldn't run out and buy an expensive program. Think about using Word or Pages, or Google Docs, and experiment with those templates first to get an idea of how to change the margins, and then upgrade if you want to when your book income justifies the investment. So you're not wasting money that you don't need to be wasting if you don't have it, especially. So some ways to plan for formatting your book. This is your professional workflow. You want to write your book. Scribbler, of course, is a great option. And then track your changes and edit in Scribbler as well. As you format, you can use InDesign, you can use Vellum, you can use Word, Google Docs, Pages. And in those, you can, if you get the book layout looking correct, you can proofread and print your final version for review. It is a good idea to print it to see how it's going to look. And then when you export it, and if you're planning to self-publish, you want to use a PDF to print on Amazon or an EPUB file for ebooks. And you can convert to EPUB in most word processing programs these days as well. So you don't want to rush through the following action plan steps for formatting your book. Take some time. You know, we all get excited about the publication of our books, but you definitely don't want to have something out there with your name on it that doesn't look professional. So take your time. You know, your final outcome will look much more professional, and you'll have a book that you can be proud of for years to come. So with week one, you might want to lay your foundation, decide on the book dimensions do you want. Are you doing a mass market that's smaller? Do you want a 6x9? This is recommended. It's already set up for you on Amazon and on Barnes & Noble. You want to make sure that you have set up the proper margins and layout. You can take a look at our handy cheat sheet that we're planning to upload into Discord. You want to make sure that you're applying professional typography. No, fonts like Papyrus or Comic Sans. Make sure that you're using what is current and professional in the genre you're writing in. Create your chapter and paragraph styles. They should all look the same way. If you're centering your title on chapter 1, it should be centered for chapter 2. If you're using a drop cap larger letter for chapter 1, it should be the way for chapter 2, and so forth. Make sure you fixed your indentations throughout your project as well. So that's the first week. In the second week, think about your structure. You want to format all of your chapter openings consistently, ensure that your chapters are starting on the right pages. If you need to add headers and footers and your page numbers, work on that. This will take you a little while. You need to look through them on Amazon KDP or on Barnes & Noble, Google Books, and so forth. And if you plan to have a table of contents, create a professional one during week 2. Week 3, if you're planning to do a digital version, create the ebook file with proper formatting. You want to test this on multiple devices, phone, iPad, and computers and Kindle. Optimize your images if you have any for digital, and ensure that your EPUB export is clean, it looks good as well, and try to get some beta reader feedback if you can. Week 4 is your final polish. By now, you'll have a print version ready. You'll have an ebook version ready. You want to make sure you proofread and check the formatting in all of them. Print a test copy for preview, and then create print-ready PDF so you can take a look through it. And once everything looks good, you'll upload it to your publishing platforms and launch your professional book. By the way, before you launch your book, you should already have a marketing plan in place. You should already be teasing your readers. You shouldn't just publish the book and then think about marketing afterwards. We do have some free webinars for you and a packet on what you should post to your social media channels, and having a marketing plan on Discord for free as well. So one thing you can start today is pick one of those week 1 tasks and go ahead and do it today if you're planning to publish anytime soon. Professional formatting is something that's built one improvement at a time, and it builds on itself. So in this webinar, we have reviewed typography fundamentals. We looked at some page layout tips. We looked at common formatting errors to avoid. Thank you for joining me, as always, on this webinar on book formatting tips. If you have questions or you want to discuss anything you've seen here, let's discuss the conversation on our Discord channel. Thank you for joining us. And again, I just want to show you that on our Discord server, we will be uploading this packet for you. It does have the parts of the book, so you remember what is what in the terminology. It has a book cover cheat sheet for you, what those layouts and the numbers should be. It has the interior of your book, the margins, what those should look like. And it even has a fonts chart, so you can look and see what the fonts are for the genre that you're writing in. So thank you, everybody. Have a great week and best of luck on your writing.